Sushant, Sareen, this charge that the PFI is the mirror image of the RSS, and if the PFI has been banned, action should be taken against the RSS, the RJD, the Congress, the AIMIM, all towing that same line. To what extent is it even fair to compare the PFI with the RSS?
Rahul, I think it's a travesty to compare the two organizations. But having said that, the people who are demanding a ban on the RSS, they were in power for 10 years from 2004 to 2014. They could have banned the RSS at that point of time. They banned the RSS 3 times in the past. And what happened after that? They simply couldn't carry it. They couldn't prove their case. And these were not governments which were linked to the RSS. These were governments which were hostile to the RSS. The very same people who are demanding a ban on the RSS and are trying to do monkey balancing. What I find objectionable is this is monkey balancing. If you have adequate evidence, adequate proof against the RSS, by all means go to court and demand a ban on it. And when you were in government, you could have banned that organization. But you weren't able to do it because you had no evidence. Even in the case of PFI, Rahul, the demands for banning an organization like the PFI have been made for years. And yet, it has taken a long time simply because there are certain objective criteria, certain legal requirements which you have to fulfill before you can actually go and ban an organization. You just can't do it out of a whim and a fancy. And I would imagine that having the government would have collected the necessary evidence to actually justify this ban. Number one. Number two, Rahul, on the question of what is a ban good enough? No, for an organization which has like PFI, which has the kind of resources it has, which the following it has, and which has metastasized, to a point where it's in every nook and corner of this country. It's not going to be enough. It will mutate. But what is important is that a ban does disrupt the functioning of an organization like this. Imagine if the SIMI had not been banned, what kind of an organization and what havoc it would have wreaked today.
Absolutely.
In this day and age. So I think a ban is necessary, but as Dr. Vikram Singh says, you just can't rest on a ban. You have to follow through and make sure that it does not, reappear in another avatar. And if it does, then you crack down on it before it.
You're hitting out at opposition parties. Aadil Singh Boparai, Sushant Sareen asks, if there was evidence against the RSS or the Bajrang Dal, why did your government, when in power, not ban them?
Well, Mr. Kaval, the Congress party has a very principled position on this issue. We're against any form and any type of communalism. Extremism is not linked to any caste, creed or color. Extremism is something which cuts across all these barriers. And for us, majority, minority is immaterial. In fact, it's the Congress party which has been victims of this form of extremism. We've lost 2 former prime ministers. Our party and our workers have shed their blood for the unity and integrity of this country. So therefore, we don't need lessons and sermons from others about what needs to be done to hold this country together. Please look within. We have an illustrious past where we've defended this country's borders, we've defended the unity of this country with our toil, with our blood. Having said this, coming to the more principal point, the application of law has to be uniform. To say that now that you ban the PFI and hate and bigotry, prejudice will come to an end, I don't think so. Please put this question to Mr. Sareen. Will it come to an end? No. The problem today is selective action. If there is material, and I'm assuming the government must have material, they must follow the law. The long arm of law must apply across the board. And please take it to its logical conclusion. But there are multiple organizations, there are multiple ideologies, there are multiple individuals, and some of them enjoy state patronage. To say that the likes of Yati do not enjoy state patronage would perhaps be
Let Aman Lekhi respond to this charge of selective action, that while the PFI has been acted against and so have affiliated organizations, there are those like the Bajrang Dal whose members have been accused of very serious violent crimes, those charges not being looked at as seriously. Is that true?
This is a clear case of whataboutery, and that is more or less endemic in this country. The issue here is whether PFI should be banned. The question is, we have to critically analyze the circumstances which lead to this particular action. Now, instead of addressing the issue with regard to PFI, much of the response is, what about the others? Now, as far as the others are concerned, that's an issue which is extraneous to PFI, because the question before us is whether the ban on PFI is justified, first. So it's clearly an ad hominem submission, which in some ways suffers from logical fallacy and skirts the real issue. And that's a big problem in this country. When confronted the problem, we don't look at the problem, we look for other issues and then confuse the entire thing, which is in fact what this entire political discussion is intended to do. That said, insofar as other organization is concerned, please see, if you look at the scheme of the Act, you don't resort to an easy banning, because the policy of the law doesn't say that it should be the first step. And if you look at the sequence of events over here, what we would identify is that insofar as the members of PFI are concerned, as I said at the outset, were individually prosecuted, because there is a provision under the Unlawful Activities Act dealing with unlawful activities and terrorist activities, that in different chapters of the Unlawful Activities Act. So over a period of time, there were several cases against individuals belonging to PFI, but there was no ban on the PFI. And the PFI has been functioning as PFI from 2006, where in 2022, and it's replete with instances of criminal action, whether it's chopping of hands or forcible conversions or killing or communally in some way exciting the people or having links with ISIS in the recruitment scam over there. And there have also been individual convictions of PFI members. Now, with a history as replete as this, with instances as comprehensive as those I said, with proof which is in fact judicially tested, eventually, because it continues unabated, the question of banning comes. So banning is not coming as a matter of easy resort. Much of the champions of liberty, you say, okay, free speech, tolerance and all that. When it comes to other organizations, instead of addressing the issue of PFI, they say, why didn't you ban the other organization? Now, you cannot simultaneously say, don't easily ban, and then off-the-cuff response to a ban which is otherwise justified, to have a rhetorical question about why the other organizations are not banned. The question here is, are the circumstances of the other organizations as extreme as PFI? Now, that is not something, a subjective opinion. That has to be something which has to be objectively verified. Now, it is not a question of idle comment. It should be something of an empirical analysis.